Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. On the show, I interviewed Mackenzie Leighton. She's originally from Maine, but she's been in Paris since 2017, where she works as a musician and a florist. We talk about how the pandemic forced her to pivot and try new things and what she's working on today. Welcome to the show, Mackenzie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So happy to chat with you. I know you are a busy woman between being a florist in Paris as well as a musician. I love those two things together.
Yes, it was kind of a happy accident, I guess, thanks to one of the good things that came out of the pandemic, actually.
Yeah, I think there were some silver linings in the pandemic for sure. I mean, a lot of people had to pivot, figure out other things to do. And is that where becoming a florist came into play for you?
Exactly, yeah. So before the pandemic started, I had been in Paris now. It's been 5 years now. So in 2020, I was coming up on 3.5 years being there, and I was about to release my second EP with this French label, and I was, ready to do a little tour and really try and make music work full time. And then we were all confined, and so I had to think of a plan B. And I looked up a florist school that was nearby my apartment, and I guess it's something I've always wanted to do. I had worked on a flower farm in Maine one summer. That's where I grew up in the Northeast United States, and I just thought it would be great to have that, as a backup plan. So I ended up going to florist school and doing this 1-year program and getting a florist diploma, and then since then I've been, doing music and flowers.
That's so crazy. I love that. You're just yeah, I'm just going to become a florist now. No big deal. Because that's not necessarily an easy job either. And also, it sounds like you're right at that tipping point in your musical career. I mean, how are you feeling when you're like, oh my goodness, I'm about to be a full-time artist, and now breaks, hard stop? How are you feeling at that time?
It was really hard. I think it was really hard for, everyone in the music industry or anyone with a job that depended on, playing live shows and just to be at that point in my career where I was so excited about, getting to go around France and play, and it was really hard. And I think it took me a long time to come back from that. And even, it definitely stalled my career as a musician. And I think it stalled a lot of other people's careers as, emerging artists at that time. It was not a good time to be an emerging artist.
What originally brought you to Paris?
So I moved in 2017. I went to school at NYU in New York, and I was studying. I was in this weird small school called Gallatin, where you basically make up your own major, you create your own curriculum, and I was studying social justice and arts activism with a minor in creative writing. So I was in New York, and then I've always wanted to come to Paris. I had been here a couple times with my parents on holiday, and I knew after I graduated that I just wanted to come and really learn the language and the culture, and so right as I got my diploma, I left, and I was an au pair my first year in Paris. I feel like that was the easiest way to come over with the visa situation, and I mean, now it's been 5 years, so
I love that. Make up your own major part. That's so fun.
Yeah. It's complicated to explain just in general, but especially explaining that in France to, where the education system is so it's so strict, and that doesn't exist at all. So that was another reason why I did the florist school, was to get a diploma that was, recognized by the French government and by French institutions. Because I felt like my college degree, no, even though it was from this prestigious university in the US, it didn't mean a lot in France,
Yeah, they're like, what is
unfortunately.
that, clown school or something?
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
talk a little bit about what it was like to go to florist school in Paris. Like, was it rigid? Was it rigorous? Was it difficult? It was all in French. How did it work?
It was all in French, yeah. So basically, it works. It's this specific degree called a CAP, which is like I guess the equivalent in the US would be like a trade school. So if you think about any professions like a baker or, a tradesperson, someone making some woodworking, like all of those fields, floristry, they all have these sort of programs. Usually it's in 2 years. It's usually a 2-year program. But if you have, higher education and other diplomas, you can do it in 1 year. And the whole format of it is that you work and study at the same time. So it's an alternance in French. So basically, you're at school 1 week, at work 2 weeks, school 1 week, work 2 weeks. And then, yeah, I had to pass all these exams. Like, I guess most of my classes, I had, we had like floral arrangement classes, we had botany, we had drawing. We had to learn how to draw like flowers and plants, and
Wow,
we had a sales class.
that's so cool.
Yeah,
Hey, so you
it
had to learn how
was,
to draw them too.
yeah, that was part of the whole program, the whole side of like being able to construct, come up with a floral design and present it to a potential client, and so like knowing how to draw was was part of that. But yeah, it was an intense year. It was during 2020 to 2021, and so at that time, we were confined in Paris. I think, we were going in and out of confinements. And during the second confinement, which is when I was working at a flower shop, to get this degree, florists were then considered essential. So I still got to go to work.
I love
I
that
had to get,
florists were essential during the pandemic. That's so Parisian.
yeah. So we were open for click and collect, like for people to come in and pick up their bouquets or do deliveries. But it was, yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole profession of floristry is very romanticized, especially when you say, "Oh, I work as a florist in Paris." People automatically imagine like I don't know, this super easy job, like, "Oh, it's so beautiful to work with flowers," but the reality is a lot harder, I think, and
Yeah, they're thinking
um
you're just riding a bike around with like a bunch of flowers in a basket and like
yeah,
baguette.
right. I mean, so it's, yeah, I mean, it's a hard profession. I was working, I got hired by a shop that was at the flower market at Place de Madeleine. And so basically I was outside all winter,
Wow,
which I don't know, I
so
don't know why
cool.
I agreed to doing that.
No.
But yeah, it was cold, I remember like opening the shop on Valentine's Day morning and all of the flowers were just frozen in
Like,
the buckets.
and so when you're designing bouquets and things for clients, do you ever have people that are super difficult? They're just like, no, that's not it. That's
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Now that I'm freelance, it's easier because I can choose the sort of missions that I want to take on. And I mean, mostly now I'm doing, working for other florists who do big events, or I've gotten to do some really cool installations for Fashion Week, or I had my first, like, another musician actually hired me to do the floral set design on one of his photo shoots. And that I really love because there's not that customer, interaction that you get. There's not that customer service
yeah,
aspect. And
it's for
my year
artistry.
of working in the eighth arrondissement of Paris, where it's a fancy neighborhood, like people there are pretty can be pretty demanding, and yeah, for sure, like the amount of times that I'd be making a bouquet and the person would be standing right next to me just criticizing me in
Oh
French
my
about,
gosh,
and I just want to say to them, I'm like, well, you chose the flowers. Like, of course it's ugly. Like, you didn't take my advice.
so
Like,
difficult.
eh, everyone has a job for a reason. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
respect for my
that's why
ability.
florists exist.
Wow. So let's go back to like your musical career. You're still doing
Yes,
that now, and how's it
yes.
going?
It's good. I feel like, you know, the past couple years of taking on the florist profession and adapting, and because I mean, for a couple years I've been wanting to do music full time, and actually just this past week, so basically there's this system in France called intermittence du spectacle for people who are working in music or in film, technicians, actors, sound engineers. Anyway, it's this specific regime where if you get a certain number of contracts in 1 year, then you basically get like artist unemployment, like you get a salary every
So
month. And so I told myself a year ago, I said, okay, things seem to be staying open now. I can play concerts, I can record. Um, and so yeah, I said I'm going to try and do this, and I managed to get all my contracts in the year, and so now I guess I'm officially an intermittent du spectacle, like an artist under the eyes of
that's huge.
under the eyes of Pôle Emploi.
Yeah, but like what counts as like full-time work? Like do you have to be on stage like to get your contract or whatever?
So it depends. I mean, the whole system is run, you have to be paid in a certain way. So you have to be paid in what's called a cachet. And basically, you get cachet if you're, imagine I play a show. Like a lot of venues, especially in Paris, either pay horribly, don't pay at all, or, it's under the table, or they want you to make a bill. And basically, to get this sort of artist status, you need to be paid with an official contract, which technically it's getting like a short term CDD for just for playing this concert, and
Wow.
so you have to get 43 of them in 1 year,
Wow.
42
That's a
and like
lot.
point something, but 43, and but I mostly did them. It was like middle of the year. This past year, I thought it was all lost. I said, okay, I'm not gonna be able to get all my contracts in. And then I got hired by a French company who does children's albums, and they were looking for, a native English singer to do their first album in English, and so they hired me, and I got to like rewrite children's songs and sing this whole children's
That's
album,
so
which was really
fun.
which was really
What
fun.
was that like? Like, was that something totally different than your style now? Like, your musical style now is like more pop, folksy. Like, what is your style?
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. In the beginning, I was like, oh, this is, it's gonna be kids songs. It's not gonna be a super, stimulating project. And in the end, I think it was one of the most challenging things I've done, just because the the composer who was writing all of the music, he was very eclectic. He's this French guy, and I love him. He's awesome, but he's crazy. Like he would basically, the boss of the company would say, "Okay, I want to do let's do Old MacDonald Had a Farm." Like that's one of the most popular songs, but we're gonna change it. And so Maxime, the composer, goes, "Okay, I'm gonna write like a Gnawa Moroccan style
What?
version of this." And so then I'm there like, okay, now I have to rewrite lyrics to Old MacDonald Had a Farm to fit with the Moroccan style
Wow.
theme. I ended up changing it into Old Mother Earth, and it talks about everything that used to be on the planet that we now,
Oh my God.
you know. So, or there was like I had to write a song about dinosaurs to like a 70s inspired James Brown funky instrumental. And
This sounds so fun and crazy and challenging.
yeah, but it was awesome. It was, and that, I mean, thanks to that too, I was able to get enough, get enough contracts and just actually, good work. And yeah, we're starting recording the next album, which is, which is fun. Definitely not, I mean, my style for my personal project is more, yeah, it got more pop with the last EP I released, and now I'm writing my songs for the next one, and they're definitely, going back to that more folk Americana direction, and not like the kids songs, but
There won't be any Old MacDonald on your EP.
Yeah, no.
So talk about your music. So what inspires your music, of your style? Talk more about that.
Yeah, so I feel like I don't know, like all, artists and musicians especially, I draw on a lot of my personal experiences and I mean at the end of the day I want to make something that other people can relate to and I guess music for me is a way of connecting with others and I feel like as an expat, now living abroad sort of indefinitely, that's something that, a lot of people can relate to. So I guess in my last project, I talked about that a lot, about what it's like, the reality of living abroad and sort of being in between cultures where I'm American, but I definitely don't feel like 100% American now after being gone for five years. And when I go back to visit, it's, I love seeing family, but it's definitely, yeah, I definitely don't feel like I belong to that culture. And I love French culture, but I don't belong to that one either because I wasn't, born into it. So I feel like, yeah, I'm in this middle ground. And then also, yeah, I mean, working as a florist during the day, during the period of when I was getting my degree and writing my songs at night. And I mean, a ton of artists have to struggle with, balancing multiple jobs to make it work. And yeah, so I talk a lot about that as
All
well.
those side hustles, right?
Yeah, like I'm the queen of the side
Yeah, you
hustles, they call
gotta
me.
be. You gotta work twice as much to do the thing you love. And talk a
Yeah.
little bit about the difference between the American music scene and the European music scene, like recording here, working with artists here. Have you seen any major differences?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think in the beginning it's hard. It's hard to sort of get a grasp on a music scene, but now I feel like I know pretty well what I can't speak for the rest of France, but what the Paris music scene, like what works right now, and it's a lot of, well, rap. First of all, rap is really popular, just in all of France, but especially in Paris, like electro pop, sort of this, yeah, indie pop trend going on, and so when I was actually working with other, French musicians and producers, they didn't come from like a folk background, that wasn't at all in their background of music production, or maybe even in the closest thing I can think of in the French music scene is la chanson française, like Serge Gainsbourg and all these old songs where it's very much focused on the lyrics and storytelling. But what I was doing definitely wasn't, it's not an established genre here like it is in the US. I feel like in the US, the indie folk world, there are so many role models I have of these artists like, I don't know, like Faye Webster and Lucy Dacus and Phoebe Bridgers and all of these, especially female artists who are making it big in that genre in the US. And in France, I feel like there's not a market for that
Yeah.
yet, maybe.
Yeah, you gotta bring it on.
I gotta bring it, yeah.
It's a different,
But
like feeling different legs. Rap is really popular here. That was very surprising to
yeah.
me moving here. I didn't know there was such a big underground rap scene in France.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Rap is super popular. But yeah, I mean, I guess in my first couple of years here, I had played in bands in New York for fun when I was in school, and then when I moved to France, I was alone, so I wasn't intending to pursue a music career. I remember even telling myself, I don't want to be a musician. It's too hard. It's, like I've always been playing music. I was a classically trained pianist growing up and was always singing and played the flute in, band in middle school.
So what brought you back? What made you go for it?
I think it was honestly like this beautiful accident where I came to France. I was working as an au pair. I didn't know anyone, and I just started writing. I started, writing with I bought my first electric guitar. I remember at a Cash Converters, which is like a pawn shop next to the Centre Pompidou, and it was kind of a shitty guitar, but it worked. And yeah, and I started going to open mics. I started going to this open mic at Le Popin, which is a bar in the 11th, and it's sad. I don't think they're doing them anymore, but I wanted to go meet French people. Like I did it as a way to go meet people and create community. And then people started liking my music, and they started inviting me to open for them at concerts, and I recorded a 4-track EP, like my first solo EP, with a friend I had met at one of these open mics. His name's Alex. He was this British au pair. I think the only male au pair I've ever met, maybe. But yeah, he was like, "Hey mate, you want to come over to my flat and I'll record your demos?"
That's so fun.
And
Au pair band.
yeah, and so we recorded in his chambre de bonne, like his tiny little room. This little 4-track EP, just me and my guitar, and I just released it independently. Didn't do any promotion, and then I was invited to go tour in Italy the following fall. I thought it was a scam. My parents thought it was Taken,
What?
like the movie
So they
Taken.
heard your album online and they invited you?
Yeah, they like found it on Bandcamp, and yeah, like planned this whole tour for me in Italy. Like small little, little like social clubs and some restaurants and, little small music venues,
You were
but
not taken. You did get.
I was not taken. It was a real paying experience.
So
Um,
cool. And how did you like touring in Italy? Were the people cool? Was it different than France?
it was amazing. That was in October of 2018, and yeah, I brought Alex, who had recorded me. He played bass, and we just played as a duo, and it was honestly, I think, the turning point, the experience for me that made me want to pursue music, full time. Because I was just having so much fun. It was just like, going from city to city and, meeting the people who live there and just getting to sing every night was, yeah, it was such a joy. I just realized how much, I guess I felt useful.
I like that I felt useful. Yeah, because sometimes you might feel like, what am I doing? Why am I doing?
Right. And I definitely have had that experience, I feel like a lot of musicians can tell stories about concerts they've played, gigs they've had that are just off. Like they just, it's not the right setting, or, the people are rude, or I think we all have those experiences as well. But when you play a good gig, that really makes up for. I can continue to use it as a tool to connect with others and share, express myself creatively, and yeah, I mean the goal, which now I guess is happening, is to be financially independent through music, and whether that means recording children's albums on the side or I was playing in a couple different groups accompanying some other musicians this past spring in Paris. And yeah, I mean there are so many ways, or so many, like, people define making it, I think, in a lot of different ways. And I think for me, just that means to, yeah, be financially stable from what I'm doing and not have to run around in a million directions and, be a florist full time and then just do my music on, at night. And yeah, I mean, it's really about letting it take me to different countries and meet different people, and yeah, I guess my gateway to the world.
Yeah, it's a gateway to connect and get in that flow state. I mean, I think a lot of the creatives on the show talk about you get into that flow where you just feel so good. It's like all
Yeah.
you want to do.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, I guess personally for the past year, I think since I released an EP, Fleuriste, last summer of 2021, and directly following that, I got to go play in a little festival in La Rochelle in the south of France, and play all these shows in Paris, and it was great. It was like, I felt like my project was taking off, and then after that, it was just, a lull of this pressure to, okay, you just released a project. Now you need to start composing songs for the next one because, if you don't release music right away, if you don't release music often, like, people forget about you. And there was just all this pressure from, various sources being like, all right, what's next? And I couldn't write. Yeah,
you felt stuck.
for sure. And I guess it's only up until recently that I've, given myself the time to accept that, and say, it's okay to not be a machine all the time. Like, artists need a break too.
Yeah, that's been a common theme for a lot of the creatives in the show because the pandemic gave us time to reflect and rest. And especially social media, it really puts you on edge to be like, okay, I have to produce all the time. I have to connect all the time. And a lot of artists and creatives are introverts. So it's like hard to be on display all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we all feel that pressure, to have like a public image and post on social media. And I don't know, I'm kind of over it. Like, I try and do it when I can, but I don't put the pressure on myself anymore I'm not an influencer. Like, I just want to, like, play my music and not have to, like, I don't have TikTok or any of that. That's true.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like I'm too old for TikTok. I don't know how to use it. I'm like, I don't get it.
But
And I think that's happening a lot because I photograph a lot for the university students in Paris. And a lot of them are going back to shooting with film cameras. They don't have social media. So I think we're going to see some kind of backlash with that where a lot of people want to take a step back.
Or it's also, I mean, I think with that too is, or me personally, I follow a lot of musicians and now I feel like Instagram in particular has a lot more sponsored posts that come up on your feed. And so I see a lot of, like musicians that are putting out singles all the time. And a lot of it is garbage. Like, not to be rude, but a lot of it is, I find it to be very easily consumable, entertainment where it's easy nowadays to look cool and put out something catchy. But a lot of the stuff I find quite void of any actual meaning, and
it takes time to produce good work.
So I think it's tempting to produce a quick hit. It's also another thing that I struggle with, and musician friends of mine in Paris. It's like the sacrifice you have to make between producing work that means something to you but might not be successful commercially, or making something commercial that you don't necessarily like but it'll pay the bills, like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a constant struggle. And where can people check out your new album? I know, talk a little bit about your new album and where people can hear it.
Fleuriste, it's on all the streaming platforms. Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, or Apple Music, iTunes. I don't know if iTunes is a thing anymore. Apple Music, YouTube. It's it's out there. I even have it on Bandcamp. I think it's on my SoundCloud as well. But I have a website, MackenzieLeightonmusic.com, where it compiles all the links to this project and to my past EPs and singles and music. And also through Instagram, I'm posting less, but I still stay on it sometimes. So my handle is Mac Leighton. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll put all that in the show notes, and I think we're going to end this episode with one of your songs. So thanks for joining us today, and I can't wait to see what you'll do
Thanks
next.
so much for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.